This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University. Today I'm very pleased to be able to report that Craig Wright is not Satoshi Nakamoto. This is something that we all knew all along, but I can finally say it now publicly without risk of getting sued. This is Craig Wright. If you don't know who he is, count yourself very lucky. He's a very terrible person who's claimed for many years to be Satoshi Nakamoto. He sued many Bitcoiners and many Bitcoin devs. He sued Hodlnaut, made his life a living hell, doxed him so that he was no longer anonymous. He sued and almost bankrupted Peter McCormack of the What Bitcoin Did podcast. And now, finally, justice is being served. Are you actually telling me that a serial liar and litigious a-hole like Craig Wright is not actually the Promethean figure who graced us with digital monetary fire, never moved his coins, and then humbly disappeared? Yes, in fact, that is what I'm saying. And it would appear that the British courts now agree with what many of us have known for years, that Craig Wright is not the inventor of Bitcoin. These are the final words from Judge Miller. Dr. Wright is not the author of the Bitcoin white paper. Dr. Wright is not the person who adopted or operated under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto in the period 2008 to 2011. Dr. Wright is not the person who created the Bitcoin system. Dr. Wright is not the author of the initial versions of the Bitcoin software. This is something that we talked about back in September of 2022, and many of you were very generous and helped to support Hodlnaut in his lawsuit. In the comment section, in the description notes to this video, I made this note. I conclude that in my opinion, and you can see how I'm hedging myself with all the legal language, I conclude that in my opinion, it is very unlikely that Craig Wright is Satoshi. If he wanted to prove that he was Satoshi, he would simply need to sign a message for one of Satoshi's Bitcoin addresses to prove that he controls it. I may be wrong about this, etc. I wish Craig Wright all the best in his future endeavors, desperately try not to get sued. If you weren't aware of this, you can prove that you own Bitcoin or that you control the private keys to a Bitcoin address by signing a message associated with it, signing a message with your private keys. This was something that Craig Wright was never able to do. I'll link to this video in the description notes below if you want to read a little bit more about it. If you want to get an idea of the sort of forgeries and perjuries that happened during this trial, I'll link to this in the description notes below. But poor Craig Wright wasn't able to remember that the Bitcoin white paper was produced in open office, not in latex. He misrepresented an exchange with Adam Back. He misrepresented the influence of Wei Dai's work on Satoshi. He didn't understand about Satoshi's PGP key, etc., etc. For a guy doing forgery, he was very, very unsophisticated and did not even have any knowledge of the code that he supposedly wrote. Now, the BSV community, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, which has nothing to do with Satoshi, has nothing to do with Bitcoin, except it's a failed fork of Bitcoin that has massively lost value against BTC, which is the real Bitcoin. But there's still BSV supporters out there, and they are tearing their hair out today. This BSV guy says, Judge Miller says he is not Satoshi, WTF. Here's an actual video of a BSV guy being upset by the result of this trial. And we can see Bitcoin, BSV, losing value against BTC in the wake of this conclusion. It's been a complete disaster. Basically, BSV forked from Bcash, which itself forked from BTC. The lone survivor that has any market value, of course, is BTC, which is the real Bitcoin. We should all thank Jack Dorsey and Block for supporting this lawsuit. This outcome is a victory for COPA, which was being supported by Dorsey and Coinbase. This decision is a win for developers, for the entire open source community, and for the truth. For over 8 years, Dr. Wright and his financial backers have lied about his identity as Satoshi Nakamoto and used that lie to bully and intimidate developers in the Bitcoin community. That ends today with the court's ruling that Craig Wright is not Satoshi Nakamoto. We are all Satoshi except for Craig Wright. We can now definitively say that. My next question would be, when jail time for Craig? Because he clearly and demonstrably perjured himself in court. He also provided many forged documents. What do you have to say, UK legal system? Or are you just interested in going after people who say mean things on Facebook? Bitcoin community has already wasted far too much time dealing with this charlatan, and I think it's time to put this behind us and focus on the bright orange future that is Bitcoin. BTC, the real Bitcoin, continues to win on all fronts and will continue to eat the world, as we've seen. People who scam, people who pretend to be Satoshi Nakamoto will ultimately all be unmasked and destroyed, as Craig Wright has been destroyed by this latest judge's decision. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.